Welcome everybody to well, I guess this is one of very few, although I would like to do more. Friday sort of meetings. I've got oh, you by the way have a cool name. So it's Delete. I'm like I'm gonna jump around a bunch here. I saw this random video where this guy was like trying to pick this girl up, and her first question was, "What's your last name?" Because I need to know what my married name is going to sound like. Like, does it go together? So
Yeah.
anyway, Delisi Friday, welcome to our our event. Um, it's great to have you here. Before we get to that, I don't even know if anybody really knows who I am because I just run this group, or I don't know where anyone is seeing this right now. I'm Christopher Small. I own a law firm. I also own a bookkeeping firm that helps law firm owners. And I just love talking about sort of growing law firms. I love talking about marketing, advertising, all of it. And Delisi here is a pro at networking, amongst many other things. I'm sure we'll talk to you a little bit about that, but I'm not a pro at that. I am very not good at that. So we were chatting, I think, on LinkedIn several months ago, and it's like, look, you should come and talk to the group because you know, people will people will learn, and I'm interested in it as well. So that is my short, choppy intro to you. I know you have some things that you want to talk about. I'm gonna just kind of let you take it over while you're doing your intro. I'll make sure that you can share your screen or do whatever you need to do, and I'm just gonna let you run with it. Okay. Oh,
Sure.
if I will kind of try to, I will be looking around while you're doing this. If people have questions, I'll kind of like chime in and I'll be like a moderator. So if there are questions that pop up, I'll bring them to you. Okay.
Yes, please do.
All right. Take it away.
Okay, let me share my screen
Okay.
and I can also, let's see, pull up the chat too.
Yeah.
So that way, hopefully I can see on my screen if someone does have something in the chat and I need to take a look at it.
Yep.
All right. So as I say, can you see my screen?
I can see it. Yep. So
Perfect.
we're good.
Okay, so today I am going to talk about how to convert rejected potential new client calls into attorney referrals and Google reviews. And I think that's really important, especially because, Chris, your group is profitable law firm owners. And one of the weak spots that we have is all those potential new clients that come in, but we don't convert them. How can we turn those into profitable relationships? And in addition to that, Google reviews too, which is what I'm going to teach. So let's get started. All right. So this kid that you see on the screen, that's me at 14 years old. Um, my first job at 14 years old was answering phones at a law firm. I know some people are probably thinking, 14 years old, why would someone hire a 14-year-old to answer phones at a law firm? And that's because this other photo you see on the screen right here, that's my dad and my mom. I was born the day my dad became a lawyer. And so as soon as I got discharged out of the hospital, one of the first places I went was the courthouse with my mom and my dad. Because isn't that what everyone does? As soon as they have a kid, they take their kid to the courthouse. So I share that story with everyone because when I'm talking today about how to turn these rejected leads into relationships, into attorney referrals, into Google reviews, it's because I learned at a very young age that every call that comes into your office matters. And when someone calls for help, you should help them. And so, where I want to start today is for everyone to think, okay, what happens in my law firm right now whenever someone calls and we aren't able to help them? I used a fun little AI to create this comic strip right here. But what I see happen more often than not is we train intake on our case acceptance criteria, right? What kinds of cases do we accept? What kinds of cases do we not accept? But the gap that I see is what happens to those phone calls when we don't accept their case? And that's what I want us to fix today. Because the problem when that scenario happens is that call then has no value to your law firm. They've called in, you have your receptionist, your intake answer the phone, they reject the call, and there is no value that comes from it. If you spend money on ads, those rejected leads actually lose money because you spent the money on the ad, the phone rang, intake answered it, you're paying intake to answer the phone, but if you don't convert them, you've lost money. Now, let's say your law firm actually doesn't do this and you've got a system in place where you say, look, if we have cases we don't accept, I want you to refer them to so-and-so law firm. The gap that I usually see is your intake or your receptionist knows to refer that case to somebody else, but more often they're not actually telling the other firm that they're doing that. And when that happens, you lose out on an opportunity to generate new connections and referrals. And here's the other part. I have learned since 1996 how important it is to make your phone calls into your law firm a pleasant experience. How does that person feel when they call your law firm? And how you make someone feel is something that lasts a very long time. So think about those rejected calls into your firm. What do those people feel when they ask for help but you don't help them? No one calls us when they're feeling great, right? We're kind of like doctors, or when you call a lawyer, you're not calling because it's the best day of your life. So we want to do something to make sure they have a pleasant experience with us, because that client journey, no matter how long or short it is really important. The other side of it is think about how intake feels when they reject a case and they can't help. I want us to think about how that can be a pleasant experience for them too, and make your firm money. So what I'm going to talk about today is a solution to all of that. I'm going to talk with you about how to make those rejected cases actual warm referrals to another law firm. I'm going to show you how you can do that to create and grow your attorney referral network. I'm going to show you how to plant those seeds so those warm referrals on the rejected leads can turn into referrals back to you, and how we can make that a great experience for every caller and then turn them into positive Google reviews. So here's where we start. First, you start with your most commonly rejected calls. I want you to ask intake, ask reception, ask whoever answers the phone in your office, what are the most common leads and phone calls we get into the firm that you have to reject? And when you get that information, I want you to create a list of what those things are. Next, I want you to keep asking that question every Friday for a month. And the reason why I say that is intake's going to give you a whole bunch of rejected case types off the top of their head because this is their role. They know. But if you follow up for a month, once a week, they will sometimes come back to you and say, you know what? I forgot. We keep getting this one kind of case I have to reject. And so doing that follow-up question will help you add to the list to make sure that it's more complete. Next, once you create the list of case types that you do not accept and are rejected phone calls, I want you to look at that list and say, okay, who do I already know in my professional network of attorneys that I can start to refer those cases to? And then look at the list and say, who do I not know yet that I can send those cases to? Because more often than not, you're going to look at that list and find a case type in there where you're going to say, ooh, I actually don't know anyone in that practice area or who handles that kind of case. I need to grow my network in this one spot to find someone for that. And so here's what we're going to do. When you start to have that list of who you can send those rejected case types to, the key part in all of this and how you build this up to be a system and generate attorney referrals is you need to call the lawyers you're adding to your list and confirm that their case acceptance criteria matches what you have on your list. And the reason why that's so important is because every day, every quarter, every year, there's an attorney out there who is changing their case acceptance criteria, but they don't update their website. They don't share it with the world. They're just having those internal communications in their law firm and making that decision. And so it's important for you to make sure if you're adding someone on this list that you're confirming they still practice that case type. Because what you don't want to do is have intake send this rejected case type to the Chris Small law firm, and Chris says, "Ooh, actually, I don't accept that case type anymore," because then that's not a pleasant experience. So it's important for you to call and confirm that case acceptance criteria. Now, if you have practice areas and case types on that list where you didn't have someone in your network, here's how you maximize that phone call. Ask the lawyer who you're talking to how to grow your list where you need help. And this lets them know, okay, they're creating a list of referral partners and they're reaching out to me to help grow that list. Because oftentimes they will say, you know what, if you need someone to handle a probate case, here's who I send all my probate cases to. And you can use your list to grow your list. The last part here on the presentation slide, letting them know you're creating a system for it. The reason why that's also important to share is because how you do anything is how you do everything. So if you're sharing with these referral partners that you've got a system in place, your intake or receptionist knows who to send those cases out to, they're going to have a very positive experience with you and know, man, Chris really handles his law firm well. He's got a whole system in place. I'm feeling really confident about what he's doing here. And that sets the tone for Chris in turn to want to refer a case back to me. That's why that's another really important part of starting to create this list. Now, once you've done that, you want to make sure you save all of this information for intake because you want to be able to print this piece of paper or save it somewhere in your case management system so intake knows who these people are. You want them to have the name of the law firm. You want them to have the phone number for the law firm so they can make that warm transfer. You want them to have the case acceptance criteria for that law firm so they know, okay, when this rejected lead comes in, let me look at this list. That's who I send it to. And the other really important part is the name of the intake contact at that other law firm. And the reason why that's important is because when you make that warm referral, you want to be able to have the person on the other side on a first name basis. Because now that rejected lead is going to get a warm referral. And I'm going to show you the script in a minute. And the referral is going to feel very personal and it's going to set a great tone and have a good experience for that warm transfer. So before I go on and I show you guys how to do the warm transfer and what does that script look like, any questions on what I have gone through so far? No? Good? Okay. Oh, wait. Yes. You're muted. There you go. Wait, for some reason, Chris, I cannot hear your audio. I wonder if that's just me. Pamela, can you hear him?
No, I can't.
Oh, okay. Hi, Pamela.
Hello.
Um, Chris, you want to put it in the chat and I can read it off the chat?
How about now?
There we go. I can hear you now.
Okay, this will work good enough. I had to switch. Sorry. Geez.
Are you good?
This is my thing. And I'm bad at this. This is my question and I'm curious thinking about, and you may get to this later, but are like is the goal of this referral out to get referrals back, or is the goal also to create like referral fee type of relationships, where you can split fees, or both? Like
Both and the Google review. And yes, I
got
will
it.
cover
Okay,
that.
you're going to get to this. Okay, great. I
Yeah.
thought you were, but I
Mhm.
just was curious about that. So, okay, cool.
Yeah. Let me take you on this journey.
Let's go.
Okay. Um, so I love to study companies like the Ritz-Carlton, Disney, Chick-fil-A because they have exceptional customer service and they teach really great leadership. And so one of the things I really love about the Ritz-Carlton and how that kind of applies to what I'm talking about today is if you've ever visited a Ritz-Carlton, every guest who has a question, the person who works for Ritz-Carlton is taught to walk them where they need to go. And there are so many stories of people who've been in a Ritz-Carlton and had a great experience that they start to share. And I want us to think about how we can apply a customer service experience or a client experience like that to our law firms, because that is part of the thought process and the belief behind the warm referral, because we want every potential new client who calls our firm to feel that when they call our law firm. So that's kind of the thought behind, let's take that Ritz-Carlton experience. Let's take that training and that great client experience and apply it to the law firm, which is where the warm transfer comes into place. Because think about how much better this is for a rejected lead if you're offering them solution and they get the help right now. So I put up on the screen, and I can share this with everyone as well, kind of what this sounds like. This is a script that I teach. I'm so sorry, Chris, we don't handle that type of case, but we'd still really like to help you. Our office has a great relationship with the Clark Law Firm, and I know they handle this case type. I'm happy to make an introduction to them. I can do a warm transfer so you don't have to do anything else, and I can see if Sarah's available to speak with you. Now, that kind of a script on the phone call to someone your intake or receptionist just said, I'm sorry, we can't help you, now offers them a solution. But here's the other part of that. Now you don't have that rejected lead wondering, well, great, who do I call now? So when you make the warm transfer, there's also another script that you can follow, and I'll share this as well. And it goes a little something like this. Hi, Sarah. It's Delisi from Callan Rodriguez Peacock. I have Miss Maria Hernandez on the line. She called our office regarding a divorce, 2 minor kids under the age of 12, married 14 years. But Miss Hernandez and her spouse are active duty military, which isn't something we handle, but I know your firm does. May I transfer her to you so you can see if your firm can help? Now, the reason why the details in that warm transfer right there are important is because if you have someone on the phone who's calling your office and asking for help, your intake just screened that call to try and find out if you can help them. If you do the warm transfer and you don't provide some of this background information your office already has, now Ms. Hernandez is going to have to repeat everything all over again. It's like when you go to the doctor's office and the nurse asks you all the questions and you see the doctor and the doctor's like, tell me what's going on. And you're like, I just told the nurse. I just told the nurse all of this. So when we do the warm transfer like this and we give that basic information, then the rejected lead doesn't have to repeat everything all over again. And here's the other part. Sarah at this law firm you're sending the case to is going to love that she doesn't have to ask the same questions again, annoy Miss Hernandez again with the same questions. And she's going to feel like that warm transfer is an excellent referral, which is what you want. It goes back to what I said a moment ago. How you do anything is how you do everything. And this kind of a warm transfer with these details tells Sarah, man, every time Delisi calls me, she's always doing that warm transfer with the great detailed notes, and I really appreciate it. So it begins that relationship for referrals on that phone call. This is what we want. We want the rejected lead to now feel like, even though your law firm couldn't help them, that you're still finding a solution for them. And now you're doing the introduction to the to the law firm partner that you have. Your rejected lead doesn't have to go look for any help anymore. And everyone's experience has now been a positive one because you've done that warm transfer. Now, like you asked a second ago, Chris, how does this now convert into attorney referrals? Here is how we turn it into attorney referrals, potential new client referrals, and the Google review. A lot of people will stop at this part right here. A lot of people will have intake, send them somewhere else where they need help, and this is where it ends. And that's the difference between generating referrals and not generating referrals, is this part right here. You need to follow up with the referral partner. You need to show you care and see if it was a good referral. So this is a script that I would use. Hi, Sarah, it's Delisi from Callan Rodriguez Peacock. I just wanted to follow up and see if you were able to help Miss Hernandez. Married 14 years, 2 kids, active duty in the military. I transferred her call on Tuesday. Just wanted to see, were y'all able to help her? Now, this is the part where Sarah knows I'm following up to see what happened. My referral partner now knows I check in on people I send business to, and I make sure everyone gets the help that they need. And that sends that referral partner a really positive note. They know that you value referrals, relationships, and checking in on the people you send their way. Here is the next step. You want to do the same thing, but you want to do the same thing with that rejected caller, because we want to continue that relationship with them too. And here's what that looks like. Hi, Miss Hernandez. It's Delisi from Callan Rodriguez Peacock. I just wanted to follow up and see if you're able to talk with Susan at the Clark Law Firm and receive the help that you needed. It's really important for us to help everyone who calls our office, and I wanted to personally check in on you. Now, I do this, and people are shocked. Again, I've been doing this since I was 14 years old, and what I will find every single time is no one expects this part. No one expects it. They think, oh, I called Callan Rodriguez Peacock, they referred me to Clark Law Firm, I'm done. That's my whole experience with them. When you take this extra step to follow up with that rejected lead now thinks, oh my gosh, they care about me. They thought about me. She's following up to make sure I got help. I really appreciate that. And it sends a message to her that even though you couldn't help, you still care, which goes back to the slide I shared. People are going to forget what you said and what you did, but they're not going to forget how you made them feel. This extra step makes them feel like you care and like they're not a number. They're not just a rejected lead. And that feeling, when you tap into it, can be very strong. Now, usually by now, this is where a lot of people are asking me questions. Here are the most common ones. But Delisi, what if I don't know who to refer these cases to? If you ask your referral partners who they refer cases to, you can grow your list with your list. The other thing is, if they don't know who to suggest for your list, you can also go into the Facebook group that Chris has. Hey guys, I'm trying to refer out some of these cases I don't handle. Is there anyone in this group who handles this practice area? You can refer within the group we have here. You can also go on LinkedIn. Go post on LinkedIn and say, hey guys, I need a referral partner in this practice area, in this location or venue. Who do you recommend? And more often than not, if you get an attorney's name who's recommended over and over and over and over again, that's when you can really see who's got a great firm that your colleagues are referring cases to. The next question I get a lot around this time is, okay, well, what do I do if the Clark Law Firm didn't sign them up? That is a great question, because sometimes that does happen. When you make that warm referral on that rejected lead, It's not a guarantee that your referral partner is always going to sign them up. This is where you start to create the relationship with your law firm referral partner, because that follow-up call to see what happened with Ms. Hernandez is so key. Now Sarah can tell me, oh, you know what, Delisi, we actually didn't sign her up because this isn't the right venue. And we sent her to this office because this is the firm she should go to because it's in their venue. The other thing that can happen is the Clark law firm could tell you, man, that was a bad referral. It turns out Ms. Hernandez is crazy. She was rude on the phone. She said she was going to do things and she didn't. We found out she was lying. They can tell you a lot of things about that person too that'll help you see, okay, you know what, maybe I don't want to follow up with Ms. Hernandez because my partner is telling me something about this person that is telling me, I don't know if it's really a good referral, right? And so that's important too. Those are things that happen pretty frequently. The other thing you can find out is, let's just say that when I'm calling the Clark law firm, they are also saying, hey, you know what? This was a great referral, Delisi. We signed them up and we are helping them and it's been a great experience. Thank you so much. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second because my screen went a little crazy. These conversations are so important because that's when you start to develop the relationship with your partners that you want and is really key. So that's why I like doing these follow-up conversations, because you can learn a lot from those conversations. And if they never happen, that's the part where you start to lose the momentum, and it's really key. Delisi, what happens if I talked to Miss Hernandez and she got really upset? I will tell you that has actually never happened to me. And I've been doing this for a really long time. Everyone gets scared of it, but never once have I called someone to check in and make sure that they got the help they need and they were upset, because they're all calling asking for help and they actually love that someone checked in to make sure they were okay. So how does any of this turn into a Google review too? Here's how that part works. And I can give this script too. Going back to what I said, no one has ever been upset when I did this follow-up. The response has always been extremely positive. They are all very surprised that I called to care and make sure that they got the help they need. And this has always been what I do next. Oh, good. I'm so happy it all worked out for you. Miss in on this, if I may, I do have one more question for you. For some reason, people get nervous when calling a law firm. And some of them even think we're not very nice. If I sent you a link to leave a Google review, would you mind sharing your experience with us? I think it would be really helpful for other people out there to see we truly care about everyone who calls and needs a lawyer. No one has ever told me no to that. Sometimes, once I've followed up to make sure they got the help they need, they ask me or any of my clients I teach this to, please send me a link for your Google review. I want to tell people what a great experience this has been. That's how I turn these into positive Google reviews. For anyone who's ever taken sales training with Sandler, I did Sandler sales training way back when. And one of the techniques that they talk about in sales is when you make someone feel like taking an action personally helps you, they're more inclined to do so if you have helped them. And so when you do this and you've helped them find the right law firm, they are thankful because they don't expect that. And the fact that you followed up makes them feel like you care about them. And they want to leave the Google review because they feel almost like indebted to you. And they're extremely thankful for the experience. And so that's how the Google review is so easy to get here, because they think, man, you know what? I actually was a little nervous about calling a law firm, but this girl, Delisi right here, she made me feel so comfortable and she followed up and she cared. I'm going to leave that review. And that's the script right there. That's super easy to share and gives them a way to do this and feel like they're really making a difference. So when you do this, the recap is just come up with a list of law firms you want to send these rejected cases to. Have intake make the warm referral. The key is following up with that referral law firm, because in order to get referrals, you have to give referrals. And this is the easiest place to do that with cases you aren't going to accept anyway. It's a great way to grow your network through the rejected cases you weren't going to sign up. Make sure intake is following up with those referral law firms so they know that referral is coming from you. And then follow up with that rejected caller. Make sure that they got the help that they need, because every phone call into your office is an opportunity to grow a relationship and get more referrals. When I have done this, I have created relationships with people. I rejected their case, and they'll call me back and say, hey, Delisi, I know you guys don't do this, but you were so helpful last time. I have a friend and she needs a lawyer who does blank. And this system begins to set the tone for those phone calls where they know if they call your law firm, you're going to help. Even if it's not you, you're going to help. And that's the kind of reputation that you want. And in turn can also lead to some positive Google reviews. So to Chris's question, how does any of that turn into attorney referrals? And what if I never get a referral back from those referral partners? So here's how that works. In referrals, you have to give in order to get. There is something in psychology called the law of reciprocity. And the easiest way for me to describe that is, you know how during the holiday season, it's December, everyone's giving gifts, and someone comes into your office and they say, hey, Chris, I got you this great holiday gift. Here you go. I'm so excited to give it to you. And you have this feeling inside your stomach because you're like, son of a gun, I don't have a gift for them. I don't have anything to give them back. There is this natural feeling that we have to reciprocate the gift. The law of reciprocity is also used in referrals. If I'm giving someone a referral, I now as a recipient, if I have a heart, am going to feel this need to want to give back. And so when you create your network of these law firms that you send the rejected cases to, all of those law firms who aren't in competition with you, they just handle cases you don't, now feel like they need to be referring back to you because you're doing this for them. Now, sometimes I'll get, but what if they don't send something back? And that's a great question, because sometimes this happens and you have to make this decision for yourself. There are some law firms that may not be able to refer something back to you yet. We don't know what every day holds and how many different kinds of calls are going to get into our law firms, right? So there's one side of this where they don't know when that phone call is going to come in, so they can reciprocate the referral. But if you want to find out and you don't want to be referring cases out and not feel like the relationship is reciprocal, the easiest thing to do is to ask the question. If you don't ask the question, you won't find out. So here's what I'll do when I'm helping a law firm create these relationships. I'll say, okay, you're referring to the Smith law firm, and I'm looking at this list and we've sent them 3 cases in the last 3 months. You don't have any cases coming in from them yet. Let's have a conversation. So what I'll do is I'll pick up the phone. I'll call that contact at that other law firm and say, hey, Mike, I was looking at our list and it looks like we referred 3 cases to you guys in the last 3 months. I'm really happy that our partnership has led to some business for you guys. I do have a question though. Our office handles criminal defense cases. Do you guys ever have any of your current clients or former clients give you a call and need a referral for a criminal defense lawyer that you might be able to send our way? And That question is a very natural question to ask. But when you ask it, that's when you find out from your referral partners if this can be a reciprocal relationship, and you find the answer out right then. There has been one or two times where I've asked this question because the relationship didn't end up being reciprocal, where I got cases back. And that's when I found out something like, oh, Delisi, we love your referrals. Thank you so much for your referrals. But turns out the law firm partner went to law school with Joe Schmo, who's up the road. And he and Joe Schmo are so close. So anytime I get a case that's going to come in that I might be able to refer to you, we actually send it to Joe Schmo because we have a really great relationship with them, because he and our law firm partner went to law school together. If you don't ask the question, then you don't find out the answers. So that's where you come in and you ask that question and see, okay, is this going to be a reciprocal relationship? To Chris's point, how can I make this a mutually beneficial relationship where it's not just us referring cases back and forth, but this can be a financially beneficial relationship too? Dependent on your state, there are times where you can do a contract and share a joint responsibility, and you can do a fee split. And so you can make money off of that. Because this group has attorneys across the country, every state is going to have different rules for that. So I would encourage everyone to look up your rules and see what applies to you. Can you get a referral fee at the end of the case, and you create this relationship with that fee in mind? Can you have the other law firm sign up that client? You share joint responsibility and you get a percentage of that attorney's fees. I would defer to each attorney in their state and look up the rules on that, because this is where those attorney referrals can be really beneficial financially for your firm. And the final tip in all of this, because I want this to be mutually beneficial for everybody, but also financially beneficial as well. The last part that a lot of people get wrong is they forget to tell people outside of intake this part of the process. And it's a missed opportunity to create relationships with other lawyers if you don't do this. Tell your entire law firm about this. Let them know who is on this list. And here's why I say that. There are people in your law firm who have family, friends, a network, who can all be referring business as well. And one of my dreams is when I show law firm how to do this and they tell their entire staff about it, and they have someone from accounting who says, hey, Chris, you know what? My neighbor is getting a divorce, and I referred her to the Smith Law Firm where we send all of our divorce cases because I know they're on our list and we have a great relationship with them. I love it when that person tells the law firm that. And now you or someone from your law firm, if you want to delegate it, can call the Smith Law Firm and say, hey, Smith Law Firm, our accounting manager, her neighbor needs to get a divorce. Her name is Delisi Friday, and we sent her over to your office. Just want to let you know that referral came from us. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine if you were the Smith Law Firm and you got a phone call like that and thought, oh my gosh, they are literally training their office to send cases our way? You would wow them to no end. They would be incredibly surprised and so thrilled and love you forever and ever if you taught your law firm this also and became a connector that way. Because if you can scale this further and you can show the other people in your law office who the law firms are you have partnerships with, I guarantee you someone else in your office could refer a case. They just don't know because you haven't trained them and given them an opportunity to. And so if you show them what you're doing, if you give them this list and say, hey guys, just want to let you know we're creating a network that we refer cases to when we're not a right fit. If you guys ever have someone you care about who needs a lawyer in any of these situations, here are the people that we trust and we create referral relationships with, and who in turn refer cases to us, which helps feed all of our families and make this law firm profitable. And when you can start to get the rest of your law firm to buy into this and be a part of this, that's when you can scale it. That's when you can make these relationships even stronger. And that's where this can really start to take off. That is the whole presentation on how you turn these rejected leads into attorney referrals, relationships, and Google reviews, and also how those rejected leads can now become cheerleaders for your law firm too, because you've just wowed them with client experience. I talked a lot. So, any questions?
Oh yeah, I have questions. You can hear me now,
Okay.
right? Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I have a couple questions. A lot of them are like, I would say probably kind of logistical type of questions, but I think
Yeah.
but I'm just gonna fire away at you and
Do
in no
it.
particular order.
Okay.
So number one, so I'm going to talk about just like mostly the experience from my firm and the way that we do things.
Mm-hmm.
So so we try to set it up where we don't take a lot of calls that are not sort of pre-qualified.
Mm-hmm.
The so we have a very specific set of non-qualified people that will get on our calendar. Okay, so like just tell you specifically, we do estate planning and probate at my firm, but we don't do litigious probates, right? So we will have people hop on our
Mm-hmm.
probate calendar for probate calls that are not litigious. It doesn't make a lot of sense for us to take that call because we know it's not a fit, and it kind of takes away a spot from somebody that could be a fit. And so I guess that my first question is just how would you handle that? Would you email them, or would you have somebody call them, or like what would you
I,
do?
I would not email. And the reason I wouldn't email is because you you can't create that same relationship on an email. There's something really special about when you talk to someone and you can hear the tone of their voice and have that conversation back and forth that makes relationship building so special. And AI will never take that away from us. So I like it done as a phone call because it also gives them a chance to ask questions, because you'll know what a litigious probate is, but they might not know. And so they have some questions. It gives them an opportunity to ask. So I would make that a phone call, um, because I don't think it would come across as well in an email. And how you do that, I think, is going to go towards how they experience their working with your law firm, even if it's just for a small amount of time.
Yep. Okay. All right. That's fair. What about, okay, next question. Attorneys, and not all of you that are listening to this, but some of you are terrible at answering the phone. You're
Mm-hmm.
terrible at responding to people, and you are doubly bad at answering the phone and responding to people that are not clients or potential clients, even if they may be referral sources. So, are you just sort of persistent with this type of stuff? Do you just look around to find a firm that is good? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you
So,
how do you handle like a lack of communication? Right. Pam says, I feel called out. That's not, I'm not calling you out. But like, how do you get around that? You just look for a firm that does have good communication. That could be like tricky, you know?
so are you saying how do you do that if you're the person who doesn't have good communication and if you're also partnering with a firm that doesn't have good communication?
I'm mostly saying the other firm doesn't have good communication. I would assume if
Yeah,
you're able to implement a system like this, that you probably have some like processes and standards in place to communicate at least reasonably well. But a lot of people
right.
don't, you know?
Yeah, and that's the reality of it. A lot of law firms don't have that. So what I just described is going to look more like a list of 5 law firms. You refer it out, you do the warm transfer, and one day the dream will be to take those additional steps too. Because right now you just have the capacity to do just the warm transfer. And so if you're doing that and the person you're sending the case to doesn't have strong communication and they're not a good fit, because when you refer to someone else, it's an extension of you.
Yeah.
If Chris Small refers a case to Delisi Friday and I drop the ball and I don't provide a good experience, I don't answer, I don't call back, now by association, I now associate that bad experience with you, which is not the point of this. So if at any point in time you're referring those cases out and the other law firm is not providing that same client experience that you believe in and that you hold to your standards, then you should find another referral partner.
Okay. Perfect.
Here's an advanced trick that I do for that, because I hear that one a lot. Thank you for asking it. What I will suggest is, look, sometimes I will go onto Google and I will search a practice area and I will see who pops up as an ad and who pops up on pages 1 and 2 of the Google search. The reason why I do that is typically the law firms who are paying for ads and the law firms who are paying to get on pages 1 and 2 aren't going to waste that money by not having systems in place to make sure they're converting those phone calls. And so if that's an experience that you were having, I would suggest asking your peers first who they refer to, and maybe that personal referral was helpful. But if you can't get one, then saying, okay, let me go on Google. Let me pretend I'm this PNC and who comes up. And let me call and create relationships with those law firms because they've got enough money to have the systems and people in place to pay for ads and to pay for SEO. And here's the other part. Because they pay for ads, because they pay for SEO, and because they have those things, they're also having a higher call volume, that reciprocal relationship might be more likely than not to happen because they're also not going to convert every phone call into their firm.
Yep. Yep. Okay, great. I have a follow-up question on that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just tapping into your area of expertise because I know you're kind of a LinkedIn person.
Yes.
Would it also make sense? Like, I feel like finding these connections is probably one of the hardest things to do. Like, do you ever suggest that people do sort of like LinkedIn farming in a way where you are just like reaching out to people just on a regular basis, trying to meet? It's sort of like dating, where you're like trying to find somebody that you match with, kind of a thing.
Yes.
And how would you do that, I guess?
So I actually do a training on that because that's a great place to go.
Well, hold on. Where can they go access the training?
Oh, I just do it. Someone can just call me and I do it for law firms.
I know, but give your website URL. I'm trying to let you promo this thing. Where should people go if they want this information?
You go to firstcallfriday.com and click on the services tab. You can see a list of the topics that I train law firms on. One of my trainings is how lawyers can use LinkedIn to grow their network. And the reason why that's so important is every year the American Bar Association comes out with their legal tech report. And in 2003, they said 81% of their ABA lawyers were on LinkedIn for networking and their professional information being out in the world. They wanted to grow their professional network. But then the next year, in 2004, when that ABA tech report came out, it showed that more lawyers and law firms were on LinkedIn than Facebook and Instagram, surprising enough. That was the first time we saw that happen. The 2025 report hasn't come out yet. It should be out soon, or maybe I missed it. But I'm curious to see what happens then because the trends are showing more and more lawyers are on LinkedIn, not just for reputation, but for building their professional network and generating cases that way. And so for anyone who's not on LinkedIn and they're a lawyer, they should. All the data is showing us that's where people are going now. And if you want to generate attorney referrals, you should be there. Or if you're a business or IP lawyer and your ideal client is a business owner, they're on LinkedIn and you should go. So, to your question, Chris, what do I do if I want to create relationships on LinkedIn? Get your list and say, okay, who do I want to create relationships with? Do a search for that attorney in that practice area on LinkedIn. And my recommendation is filtering the results by second degree connections. Because a second degree connection tells me we have someone or multiple people in common. And what I like to do is see all the people we have in common and say, oh man, I'm trying to become friends with Pamela. It looks like we have Chris Small in common. I'm going to reach out to Chris and say, hey, Chris, I need to create some new relationships with an attorney like Pamela. How do you know her? And then Chris is going to say, well, actually, we're great friends. We talk all the time. And I can say, great, Chris, can you introduce me to her? I'd like to create another relationship. And that warm introduction from a colleague is sometimes the rocket fuel to growing your network, because a warm intro from another lawyer comes with this level of trust and this safety of, hey, this is a new person. They're not crazy. We've got a mutual connection. And that's really powerful. So if you need to grow your network, LinkedIn's a great place to do it. I would do a search for who you want to meet, filter it by second degree connections, and see who you have in common. Then ask for the warm intro. Or if you don't have time and you're like, Delisi, you're pretending I have this time and I don't. Okay, well then reach out to Pamela and say, hey, Pamela, I'm really looking to grow my network. I saw you're here in the area. Looks like we have a mutual friend, Chris Small. How do you know Chris? That's completely unarming. Like if I'm Pamela, I'm like, oh, well, here's how I know Chris. I'm a part of his group on Facebook. Are you a part of it? And now this very natural conversation is happening. LinkedIn is so easy to go and find people that way.
Yep. Okay. Love it. All right. Last question.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you laid out kind of like, I don't know, maybe like 3, 4, 5 steps that you should do in this process. Couple of them are following up with people. When you were doing this, or when you teach people this, how do people remember to do this? Like, do they write this stuff down in a spreadsheet somewhere? Like, how do you remember to follow up with the potential client, for example?
So that's going to go back to whatever intake system you have. Like some people use Lead Docket, sometimes they don't, and they have everything in their case management system. Some people still don't have a case management system. So honestly, it's just incorporating it into whatever your current intake process is. So the simplest way you would say, okay, if I've got a rejected lead come in and I've traded intake to go and refer this case to Chris, then someone in intake, it is their job then to follow up and see, was that a successful referral and can I follow up with the client? If you are too lean, you don't have that capacity, and you're like, we're just trying to answer the calls, then the first place you start is just making those warm transfers to the Chris Small law firm. And then at the end of the week or the end of the month, sending in some kind of report to leadership or ops, whoever that is, the law firm owner, and saying, hey, Chris, I just want to let you know, this week we referred these cases to these lawyers, these cases to these lawyers. And either intake or you as a law firm owner follow up and say, hey, Chris, just wanted to check in with you. Looks like we sent you 2 cases this month. I hope those turn into some business for you. How are things going? And now you're creating and nurturing that relationship with rejected leads. And you've had intake provide that information for you so you can make the follow-up, or someone else.
Yep. Okay.
It just depends on what they have available. But if you can't do it all, at least track what you're referring out, make the warm transfer, and work your way up to the rest of it. But if you do like Google review contests and you teach your intake how to do this, I had one client who had to stop doing the Google review contest because intake did so well at this. It happened one time. And that's when I was like, dang, this is a good one. Like, yeah. I was so proud, but he was like, Delisi, it is getting out of hand. And I was like, do you know how many people would love to have that many Google reviews?
Yeah, for sure. Well, and it's a good way to do it, especially when you don't have a lot of reviews, or you're just starting out and you're looking for ways to get reviews, you're going to be talking to probably a lot more people that are not your
Mm-hmm.
right fit.
Well, and
So,
I consider it a public service. Look, I started by saying my dad's a trial lawyer. Um, I have a like instinct to want to speak up whenever someone's like, "Oh, lawyers are all bad." I'm like, "Don't you dare talk bad about lawyers." Like I feel like I gotta like tell them no. And so it's almost like a public service when you follow up for the Google review and say, "Please help us spread the word that we're not all bad."
yep,
Like no one has told me no when I say it like that.
yep, yeah, love it. Okay, cool. Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
let's wrap it up. We're at the hour, at top of the hour, basically. So, thank you so much for coming. I mean, like I said, this is something that we don't do, uh, not even close to like this, and not well. So, super helpful, and is the type of thing that really will add, even Google reviews add money to your bottom line. Even if you're not getting referrals and stuff, those make a significant difference. So, that's awesome. Let's give one last plug. Where can people go to learn more about you or find you? Do you have your own Facebook group, or do you have like how can people hang out with
No,
you?
I don't. But you know what? So I started something called Pocket Docket with Delisi Friday, where I have an online community I just created. It starts in April for lawyers to get together if they want to have more trainings like this with me twice a month and meet other lawyers who all care about referrals. So for anyone who wants to learn more about that or learn more about me, they can go to www.firstcallfriday.com. If anyone is on LinkedIn, please send me a connection request so we can connect on LinkedIn. And the PowerPoint that I shared had some scripts in it. I don't want anyone without the materials if they want them and they want to implement this. So, what I'll do is I'll share my email in the Facebook group. So, if
Okay,
anyone wants me to send this as a PDF, they can print out the script, they can refer back to it, and have that as a resource.
awesome. Love it. Okay. Well, again, thanks for taking the time. Really appreciate it. And I think that's a wrap.
Yeah,
Okay.
sounds good. Thanks so
Okay.
much for having
Awesome.
me.
Yep. Have a great weekend. Have a
Happy
great everything.
Friday from Friday.
That's right. Exactly. Exactly. All right. Bye bye.
Bye.